The show is about to begin.
On Trevino. High drive. Left field. That could go. See ya. A grand slam for Trevino.
Today is February 26, 2023, and the Yankees had not just one, but two games today, one against the Jays and one against the Braves. I watched the Braves game, but we've got some news to talk about from both games, so let's dig into it. The road to the World Series begins now. Post-game shows are officially back on the menu. This is NYY Recaps.
Welcome.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Welcome back, everybody, to another season of Yankees baseball here on NYY Recaps. My name is Derek. What are all of your names? This is my podcast. You can tune in after most games this season. I usually don't do the West Coast, but I do most other games. Also available on all podcast platforms as part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. So sign up if audio is your thing. We're also live streaming this year on Twitch and on Twitter. And we're finally on Instagram. So we are expanding, and I have you guys to thank for it. Today the Yankees had a split squad doubleheader, which essentially means that you split up the team in half and play two different games in two different cities. You do that so that guys can get more reps. So, for instance, both Oswald Peraza and Anthony Volpe got to start a game at shortstop today. Two prospects fighting it out for the shortstop job, and they both look good. The Martian was not in either lineup today. He got an extra day to soak in that absolutely titanic home run that he hit yesterday in Clearwater. The Jays matchup was on TV on MLB Network, and the Braves matchup was on the Yes app. So let's talk about the Braves matchup. That's the game that I watched, and that's the game that I jotted down some notes for. I did flip over to the Jays game to watch Volpe's at-bats, which were impressive, so we will talk about those too. Clark Schmidt was on the mound. I thought he looked phenomenal. Now, granted, pitchers are ahead of hitters at this point, but he's, of course, coming to camp, fighting for that number 5 spot in the rotation, and he looked ready. This is the best I've seen him. Frankie Montas going to be out probably the whole season. They say most of the season. Guys typically come back later than you expect with the Yankees, and when you're dealing with a labrum problem, I wouldn't count on him being effective pretty much all season. So let's just write that one off as a bad trade and move on. And Clark Schmidt was just impressive. I mean, 94-95 today. He was throwing strikes. He mixed in his new cutter, which is going to help him against lefties, they pointed out on the broadcast. Lefties gave him a lot of problems last season. He threw strikes. His mechanics were mostly solid. I mean, he still falls off towards first base a little bit, but, the stuff was there. I thought maybe he sped up his delivery a little bit. That seemed kind of new to me. He used to be a little bit more deliberate, but it just looked like the point where he lifts his leg up and gets to that balance position before you drive home, it looked like it was a little bit sped up to me. I don't know if that's intentional thing or if that's just, early on in camp, trying some things out, maybe just a little bit rusty and doesn't have his rhythm back yet, but 2 scoreless innings, 6 up, 6 down with 5 punchies. It's early, but he looked pretty good. Yankees offense got off to a really good start today. 3 singles in the first inning, and then followed up by Jose Trevino.
See ya! A grand slam! That's
Grand slam!
I have you now.
Just a monster blast from Trevino. Of course, the Platinum Glove winner last year. I mean, see where this thing landed. It goes up over the judgment-free zone. That's a home run in every park in the major leagues, folks. Gleyber Torres picked up a base hit on a ground ball up the middle. A ground ball that's probably a ground out last year. He lost a lot of hits up the middle last season. But, today I think you saw the first of what I think are going to be many ground balls up the middle that sneak through for him. Aaron Hicks was back in the lineup. His hands were a little bit higher than they have been in the past. He was also choking up on the bat a little bit. Good to see him making adjustments. Still did not look good to me. Still too big of a leg kick. Swing looks like an unfolded lawn chair. Reigning MVP Aaron Judge was 1 for 1 with a walk. He somehow looks bigger and stronger, and I'm calling it right now. 74 home runs for Aaron Judge. Maybe I'm dreaming, but that's what spring training is about. One guy who looked especially nasty today was Albert Abreu. I seem to remember him as a four-seam fastball guy. If you guys are hearing a cat in the background, my cat's meowing. Look, he was throwing the sinker today. It was 97, 98, 99 miles an hour. He exploded the bat of the first hitter that he faced and then picked up a strikeout on a sinker that was at 99. If he somehow picked up that Jonathan Loaizaga action on his fastball, look out, because he was filthy. Davy Garcia pitched today. You might remember him from the 2000 season. He made a start in the postseason and has really never been the same since then. He had some mechanical issues. The Yankees tried to fix that, and that resulted in some bad numbers in the minor leagues. He was okay. His velocity was up, 95, 96. Mechanics still seemed a bit inconsistent to me. Still looked like he was throwing across his body a little bit. But hey, if you can do it effectively, why not? Some guys are just built differently, Typically, you don't like it when guys throw across their body because it leads to arm trouble. But if that's the way a guy is comfortable throwing, sometimes you just have to let that guy do his thing and just hope he doesn't get hurt, which, happens. We saw Spencer Jones get into the game today. He is very, very large. He looked good in center field. Nice long stride, covers a lot of ground with ease. We also got to see Will Warren, who is a top 10 prospect on a few of those pipeline-type charts. He was wearing number 24, which is a good sign if you're trying to make the team. You don't get a low number like that unless the organization thinks you have a realistic shot to make the roster. I thought he looked very polished. His stuff was, average to slightly above average, but, kind of reminded me a little bit of Clark Schmidt. Same type of pitcher. Around the strike zone, gets a little bit of movement, good breaking stuff, polished major league breaking stuff. Trey Sweeney smoked a ground rule double today. He's got a great swing. Clayton Beeter appeared in this game. He's the guy that the Yankees got from the Dodgers in the Joey Gallo trade. So I liked his arm strength. I mean, he's 95, 96. I think he can still throw harder. He was around the strike zone. He closed out the game. But Yankees overall looked very good, and they win this one with ease.
Ball game over. Yankees win. Yankees win. You're a winner.
And it's time to hand out the first belt of the year. Now, Frankie Baseball, if you're watching, we're not going to count the spring training belts. These don't go towards the official count, but it's fun to do. So we're going to hand it out to the guy who hit the grand slam today. That is Mr. Jose Trevino.
Let's go. Belt winner.
So over in the Jays game, we just had a comment that the Yankees need to call up Anthony Volpe right now. He looked good today. His first at bat, he was leading off. He hit the first pitch 105 miles an hour off the bat right at the shortstop, the Jays shortstop. It was caught, so it was an out, but later he had some better luck. He ripped a double to right field, kind of an inside-out type of swing, and smoked it the opposite way. And then in his third at bat, he turned on the ball and ripped it to left field, and then proceeded to steal second and third base. This guy can run. Look, last year he had 50 stolen bases in the minor leagues. And he is aggressive. He's as aggressive as it gets. But not only that, he gets great jumps. And he can run. I mean, he's fast. So for the casual fans, A pitch out is when the pitcher will intentionally throw the ball up and away out of the strike zone so that the hitter can't hit it and so that the catcher has a better chance to throw out the runner. They did that with Volpe, and he still stole second base. That's how fast he is. He's got some wheels. And on MLB The Show, he better have a high base running aggressiveness, upper 90s, because, it seems like he gets on base and he's just running. He's just there to cause havoc, which is going to be fun to watch as a fan because it's been a long time since we've had somebody like that. We've had a couple of days of the new rules, and I'm seeing some mixed reviews. On the pitch clock, I've seen a lot of people complaining about the pitch clock. I think that, in general, people don't like change. I didn't necessarily think that the games needed to be shorter, but I'm not complaining about it. I do think the pace of play could have been better in previous years. If you go back and watch some of the games from like the 80s and 90s, they just had a much better pace. It was a lot more fun. It was a lot more baseball action, a lot more hit and runs, a lot more squeezes, things like that. And it'll be fun to see some of that come back. And the shift going away, I think, is going to allow for more base runners. And I thought Michael Kay had an excellent point that pitchers having to work more quickly, it's going to cause them to tire out more and maybe allow for more fatigue, more mistakes, and more offense in general. And offense is always a good thing. So final point, we got Jeff Nelson in the booth today. I thought he paired very nicely with Michael Kay, and I hope we get a lot more of him this season. And the Yankees win their first game of the spring. All right, let's get to some of your comments. Douglas says, Davy Garcia is out of options, and it's make the team or probably get cut out of the organization. Now, one thing that can happen if he does get cut, the Yankees could re-sign him as a non-40-man player. We've seen them do that a few times. I also think you might see a situation where he gets traded late in the spring if he has a good spring. If he has a bad spring, nobody's going to want to pick him up, and it'll be easier to kind of re-sign him to a non-40-man contract. But if he has a good spring and the Yankees decide they want to move him and sort of max his value, they might be able to make a move kind of like they made last year where they traded Abreu for Trevino. Got a platinum glove catcher out of it. Brett says, could keep Glaber and possibly trade one of our infinite infield prospects for outfielders or pitching. Glaber's off to a good start this year today, or this year. He hit a home run yesterday. It was an opposite field home run, and I'd much rather see him do that than launch one to left field. If he's using the right side of the field, he's going to have a good year. He went up the middle today with a base hit. He looks comfortable. He looks like he's in good shape. But I believe in Gleyber Torres. I think he can have a good year. He's definitely capable of it. 24 Telly says, who do you think is the starting shortstop this year? I think it's probably Oswald Peraza's job to lose. That's everything that they've said. He looks smooth out there to me. He picked up a base hit today. But the way Volpe's playing, he looked great today. And he looked aggressive. He looked fun. Fans are going to love this kid. Wouldn't surprise me if he's up at some point. You might see him play a little bit of second base. You might see him play a little bit of third base. With Gleyber Torres on the team, going towards that trade question, if you decide that Volpe at second base is going to be a better option than Gleyber at second base, then you can make that deal. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but the way that Volpe was playing, I would put him at third base, be our answer to Alex Bregman, with the combination of the speed that we got, that we get out of Altuve. We don't really have anybody like that. All right, let's take a look at the box score. I got to close this out. Hang on. We've got some, let's see, story reels. Bam. Spring training for creators too, folks. There we go. All right. So, Torres 2 for 2 today. Judge 1 for 1 with the walk. Hicks 1 for 3 with a run scored. Trevino, the big four ribbies on the grand slam. Oswald Peraza was 1 for 2. Sweeney was 1 for 1 with the double and a run scored. Ortega 0 for 2. Willem Dafoe 0 for 2. And McKinney, Billy McKinney, who remembers him? Back with the Yankees, 0 for 2. Westbrook 0 for 2. You never heard a lot of these guys. A lot of them are just depth, getting an opportunity to play. Yankees had a few extra base hits. Rumsfeld, Gasper, Sweeney, and then Trevino, obviously, with the grand slam. Taking a look at the pitching, Schmidt 2 scoreless innings, he gets the win. Typically in the season, you got to go 5 innings to get the win, but during spring training, they just kind of award it to whoever pitches the best. Abreu pitched well, as we mentioned. Garcia had a couple of strikeouts. Warren looked good. Didn't strike anybody out, but looked polished. And then Beater, 3 strikeouts. He, of course, struck out just a million hitters in the minor leagues last year. Scott Crit says Volpe's steals were sick, and he's going to be a weapon with the new rules this season. I 100% agree.
I wholeheartedly agree.
The bigger bases, the pitch clock, all of these things are runner friendly. And if you've got a guy who's naturally a good base runner and fast, well, hell yeah, he's gonna do big things if he gets a chance to play. Alex Valeria says he likes the clock, and I agree.
I wholeheartedly agree.
I agree. I just think that, as Dr. Hitskin says, the pace of these games forces you to watch the actual game. 100% correct. And it's better for the game. It keeps the fans more engaged. You learn the game a little bit. It's a little tougher to do the post-game podcast and get everything ready. This was the fastest one that I've probably ever had to do, and I think that's going to be the case several times this year. But it was a ton of fun. It's great to have baseball back. It's great to be seeing all these names from years prior. We've had so many of you guys that have been here night after night, game after game for multiple seasons now. So how about a round of applause for you guys? THG wants more thoughts on the pitch clock. I think it works. You know, as we mentioned, the pace of play had fallen off the last couple of years. It's nice to see everybody engaged. I like that we're not seeing players switch positions and shift around in between pitches anymore. You don't see as many shots of guys taking off their hat and looking at the shift. By the way, new hats this year. Hang on. One of the things I did this winter was I created a new store. You've seen in the upper right reel there some pictures of the merchandise. I'm wearing a hoodie. Hang on. For those of you listening, I just showed my hoodie. This is a new hat, official NYY Recaps hat. We got this All Rise cap. And then we got this one, the Aaron Judge silhouette. We got some... Oh, it's kind of an old school one with the gray. We got a lot of stuff here. So take a look at the store. The link is in your description. If you're listening, you can just go to nyYrecaps.shop. And help us out and show off your love of the Yankees and your support for this podcast. Mr. Top Gaming says, how do you feel about Frankie Montas being hurt? Well, you know, it's never good when anybody gets hurt. You never want anybody to get hurt. Obviously, I was not a huge fan of what Montas did last year. I didn't think he was very effective. You know, when he's pitching well, his stuff is good, but I thought too many of those splitters just kind of stayed out over the plate. And honestly, I think the Yankees will be just fine without him. You know, I'm sure he'll get back in time to wreck a playoff game. But as for now, honestly, I'm just excited about what I saw from Clark Schmidt. And I've always liked Domingo Germán's stuff. He's got a great curveball. He throws strikes, and his changeup has gotten a lot better in recent years. Sean Browning says the Judge interview was awesome, maybe foreshadowing of his post-baseball life.
That is correct.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I think he's got a future at the Yes Network. He's obviously building up relationships with all these folks. Look, I'm liking what I'm seeing from the coverage. No more Beltran. I'm sorry, Carlos. I'm sorry. And who was the other guy they got rid of? There was some other stiff they had last year that I can't remember is gone. No, Maben. Maben was good. Maben wasn't. Well, maybe good's a little bit of a stretch. He wasn't bad. He got better as the season was going along. I didn't like him very much early in the year because there was a lot of ums and a lot of just what's the word? Just kind of unsuredness, and he didn't sound super confident. But he got better as the year went along. I think Jeff Nelson is very comfortable. He's been doing the MLB Network radio for a long time. He's an excellent analyst, and I think he'll have a good year. So the Yankees second game is still going on. The Yankees lead 9-5 over the Jays. Shout out to Alex for posting that for us. So, that is the recap. I hope that you guys enjoyed the first spring training game of the year, the first post-game podcast officially of the year, first post-game recap of the year. I'll be back tomorrow night. The Yankees take on the Tigers. We got something new this year. When I'm getting ready to wrap it up, you will hear this sound.
Game over, man.
And I'll do a little dance. That's how you know. Get your final comments in. Lori C. says Maven told some good stories. Fair point.
You gotta go.
And UT with the final comment expects big things from Herman and Severino, and I wholeheartedly agree about Luis Severino. That man looks like he's in the best shape of his life. Ladies and gentlemen, visit the store. I'll be live with Pete on the Designated Spitters podcast over on NYY News TV in about 3 hours and 15 minutes at 7 o'clock. We're going live, and it's going to be a fun season. And then Friday, the NYYPD show that I have with him and Frankie comes out on this channel. We're going to do one next Friday. So that'll be fun. We're going to talk about what Yankees... sorry, that's the wrong way to say that. What actors would play the Yankees if there was a movie about the Yankees? We're also going to talk about best baseball movies and the essentially the recap of the first week of spring. And we got some fun stuff coming up for you this year, so I'm looking forward to all of it. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, everybody. If you've made it this far, we thank you. If you'd like to support NYY Recaps, please like and subscribe or pay a visit to our Shopify store for some great Yankees merch. Yes. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the description. But if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, just visit NYYRecaps.shop. If you really want to support NYY Recaps and help keep the show going year after year, join up as a member. It's $5, and members get their names up in lights during each post-game show. We're also on all podcast platforms, Instagram, and Twitch this year. So give us a follow if you use any of those platforms. We're expanding, and we have you to thank for making this such a great community. We'll see you next time.
It is your destiny.
Case closed.
Ball game over.
Most impressive.